Good morning. Welcome back to Planet Doug Behind the Scenes for Wednesday, July 12th. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. And unfortunately, the very first thing on my mind is technology. That always happens lately, partially because I'm recording these videos inside this hotel room with my GoPro, and it's relatively dark in here, and I'm having all kinds of issues. So just setting up the camera leads to so many technology problems. So that ends up being the first thing I'm thinking about. So I know like the videos that I've been shooting in here look pretty terrible because there just isn't enough light. And I was using a light bulb that I had, but I packed up to go back to Sumatra, and I already have a light bulb in Sumatra. So I didn't want to carry a second one with me. So the light bulb I was using, I packed it away for storage here in Kuala Lumpur. And it's gone now. I don't have access to it. So I don't have my usual light bulb, which casts a little bit of light. So what I've done is I've moved. I'm no longer sitting this way on the bed. I'm sitting this way so that this light is over here on my left, and I can keep that light on, and it casts a little bit of light. And then I have light from the bathroom light. And when I was doing this, trying to get this set up, it's pretty awkward because sitting like this on the bed is not normal, and I don't have access to anything anymore. And one mistake and the whole GoPro is going to go tipping over, because I also have it plugged into USB power. For some reason, I never thought about doing that, because I'm sitting here recording one of these videos, and then the GoPro battery runs out. And then I kind of have to extricate myself from this position and dismantle my whole GoPro rig in order to remove the GoPro from the media mod to change the battery and put it all back together. And by the time I do that, I'm exhausted just from the effort of setting up the camera and changing the battery. But then I remembered I can actually run a USB cord directly into the GoPro, and then it's not running on battery power anymore. And you can do that with the media mod. And for some reason, I just never think of doing that, mainly because I have so many batteries. I just forgot that I could use direct power. So I now have it connected to a USB cable into a power bar. But of course, that's just begging for disaster, because the cord is looping right here in front of me. And I tried adjusting how I was sitting here, and I kind of lifted up my leg a little bit. And of course, the first thing I hit was the cord, and the whole camera was just like, oh, the whole thing's going to crash. And yeah, it's just crazy. And while I was fiddling with all the lights, I was thinking about other options, because you can buy a GoPro light unit that sits on the media mod. You know, it has its own battery inside the light, and it's small and portable, and you can clip it into the cold shoe mount, and then that would hit me with light. And I thought, you know, maybe I should pick one of those up. So this morning I was doing a bit of research into that, you know, the GoPro item. But of course, the first problem you run into is that it's GoPro, so it's expensive for what you get. I assume it's high quality, because you do get that from GoPro accessories. May not be the best design, but they invest in the quality of the material at the very least. But then I was in a whole different world about lighting that I don't understand, because it talks about how many lumens it gives off. And I was disappointed to see that under battery power, it lasts a very short time when you increase the lumens. You know, I forget the numbers now. I'd look it up, except now that I'm sitting this way, I have my laptop on my thighs as normal. But because I've moved it just a few inches away from where I normally have it, it's not connected to the internet. I don't get a Wi-Fi connection here. I have to I don't know if I can even get a Wi-Fi connection. I have to keep moving my laptop. I have to have it here, I think, and then it will connect to the internet, like right here, and nowhere else. And even if I move it sideways, it won't connect anymore. I don't know why. Technology drives me crazy. But yeah, so I was doing a whole bunch of research into lumens. I didn't know what a lumen was, but I guess 1 lumen is the equivalent of 1 candle, which I did not know. But I guess in the old days, we just didn't worry about lumens. We just thought about watts. Like you have a 40-watt bulb and a 60-watt bulb and a 100-watt bulb, and you kind of knew how much light each one of those would give off. But now that we have LED lights, it uses a completely different relationship to wattage. And you can't make the old scale doesn't work anymore, so now people are thinking in terms of lumens. Like, you know, whatever the bulb is, whether it's an incandescent bulb or an LED or whatever it is, you can compare them based on how many lumens it projects. And when I was looking at the GoPro light fixture, the numbers seem pretty low, but again, I don't know what a lumen is, but you know, like at 30 lumen, it would last for 2 hours maybe, and then at 40 lumen, and then 60 lumen, it lasts for maybe 1 hour, like when it's brand new. But I saw people saying online that theirs doesn't last anywhere near an hour at 60 lumen. And then it can jump up to, I don't know, 100 lumen or 200 lumen or something, but then it only lasts for like a 30-second boost. And none of this sounded very good to me, and I did some research, and it turns out that, yes, even 60 lumen isn't very much. I was looking into these other units, like portable light banks that you can buy to set up in, you know, for shooting video. And they were talking about, you know, 1,000 lumen and 1,300 lumen. And I thought, okay, that's what they're aiming for. So this 60 lumen GoPro thing, it didn't seem bright enough. And as much research as you do into one of these things, in the end, I find the only way to know for sure is to try it yourself. So you kind of have to buy it and then take a chance on it. And then, you know, if it doesn't work, then, you know, you've wasted more money on more GoPro accessories. And I think I have enough of those right now. And the last time I recorded one of these videos, I had a audio problem. I still don't know exactly what happened. I thought I knew what happened. I thought my Rode just ran out of power and then it cut off. The GoPro has a weird system where if you plug in an external microphone, but then that microphone battery dies, it does not switch to the internal mics on the GoPro. All you get is dead air. I noticed my Insta360 camera operates differently. When I attach the Rode to my Insta360 and the battery dies, the Insta360 now switches to internal mics. So you still get audio, but the GoPro doesn't work that way. So there I am on camera on these video clips. You can see my mouth moving for a long, long time, and there's no audio at all. Like no audio was captured anywhere. But then out of nowhere, it suddenly clicked in again. I was talking and talking and talking, and then out of nowhere, it started to record a little bit, but it was really thin and low, and I had to boost it by 30 decibels to make it even barely audible. So the fact that it suddenly kicked in, I don't even know what kicked in. I think maybe I got up off the bed and I jiggled the GoPro, and then the microphone cord disconnected a little bit. So I didn't get the full input from the GoPro mics, but I got a little bit or something. Anyway, I don't know what happened, but I ended up getting no audio at all. And part of the problem there was that I was using my original Rode Wireless Go. And that's, you know, the very first one they released, one receiver, one microphone, and it was a relatively simple unit. I wasn't using the Rode Wireless Go 2 because what that one can do, which I'm using now, I've gone back to it based on that problem I had. Of course, it's two microphones, one receiver, but I'm only using one right now. But this has another trick up its sleeve in that it records internally, like a backup track. So if you ever have a problem with the GoPro connection failing, it doesn't record any audio, at least you have a backup. It has a slightly different tonal quality, like audio recorded by the GoPro sounds different compared to audio recorded internally in the Rode, but at least you still have it, so you're not wasting your time, right? So now I'm using this again. And then for whatever reason this morning, I was messing around with this thing, which is the Rode mag clip. I bought it recently, like 2 or 3 weeks ago here in KL. I happened to be at a camera store, and it was a little, for what it is, it was expensive, but not terribly expensive. And I guess I was feeling like I had money in my pocket that day. I should not have bought it, to be honest, but I could have spent that money on something much more useful. But I thought, well, you know, it could be very useful. And the way it works is it is magnetic, and you attach one piece to the GoPro, this piece, and then you have a magnet, and then you can put it on your shirt. So this is on one side of your shirt, this is on the other, and they clip together, and it holds your microphone right here, you know, or anywhere you want to put it. And I thought, well, you know, that sounds pretty reasonable. I should try that out. But there are many problems with this thing. I think the biggest problem is that the Rode, as wonderful as it is a little bit heavy for a lavalier mic. I mean, a lavalier mic is meant to be very tiny and lightweight, and you clip it onto your collar. But you can't really do that with the Rode because it's top heavy and it flips over. I talked about that in other videos. And then I thought, well, this would prevent maybe the flip over problem. But when you put this on a t-shirt, it ends up being so heavy that it pulls down on your shirt like this, and you end up with this big V. You get all these wrinkles in your shirt, and it's pulling down your collar, and it flops around a lot. Like every time you move, your shirt flops forward, and the microphone is flopping all over the place, and it ends up pointing forward. It's top heavy again, and it flops forward. Plus, also while I was here in KL, I put this rig together. And this is the Insta360 invisible selfie stick. And if I'm not using it with the Insta360 camera, it's a handy little gadget. You know, it's got a 1/4 inch 20 thread on the top, and it's extendable. You know, I can use it for cameras. I can use it for all kinds of things. And I thought I could use it with a microphone as kind of a, you know, you could talk to people. And then you can actually use it to, you know, interview people, you know, like Bob Barker on The Price is Right, you know, like, hey, how are you doing today? Oh, you know, they can speak into the microphone. And unfortunately, of course, there's no way to mount a microphone here. So I picked up this little gizmo from Ulanzi. It's not the best, but, you know, it works. It screws in there, and it has all these cold shoe mounts. Has 3 of them. 1, 2, 3, yeah. And then my Rode Wireless Go clips right into there, and then I can use it as a microphone boom arm, basically. Like even if there's something far away I want to record audio, you know, I just stretch this out, and I can aim this and record, you know, I don't know, anything. Or you can use it as a handheld microphone. But I started using this thing, this magnetic clip, but it turns out that when you attach this magnetic clip to your Rode, it doesn't fit into a cold shoe mount anymore. It's like every time you buy another accessory, which is supposed to mount something on something else, it creates a knock-on problem, an unanticipated issue. I don't know, I've been fighting with this ever since I bought my first GoPro. I bought a GoPro Hero 7, and I don't know, you'd think you could just figure out how you're mounting your cameras, and once you've figured out a mounting system, you're done. But every day it seems like I run into some other issue, and I keep buying adapters and mounts and more adapters because this mount doesn't fit that mount, so I got to get an adapter here, and now that I've added that adapter, oh, now the cord isn't long enough, and there's always an issue. And I've been struggling with this for so long, it just drives me crazy. And I don't know if it's just me, but every time I get something, like here's a new thing to make my microphone easier to use, but it turns out I can't use it because I can't, you know, unclip it. The whole idea is to make it easier. You just use the magnet, clips on here, now you unclip it, and then you put it into the here, and you can move it from place to place, but you can't, because now this doesn't fit into cold shoe mounts. I couldn't mount this on a camera anymore. So I can't go from here to a camera. I would then have to take this off every time because it doesn't fit into a cold shoe mount. And I didn't know that when I bought it. I watched all the reviews about this item, but of course all the YouTube reviewers let me down once again. They talked about it clipping to a shirt, but they didn't troubleshoot. And they never mentioned that it's so heavy, you know, that it turns your shirt into a wrinkly rag, nor did they mention that once you attach this to your road, you can't use it in a cold shoe anymore. Nobody mentioned that. So had I known that, I would not have bought it. So, but I like magnets. You know, magnets are always fun. And who knows, I mean, this isn't a big, heavy item. I'll throw it in my bag and I'll carry it around with me. I might have a use for it from time to time, but it's not going to be a go-to item like I thought it would. Yeah. I still have no internet connection. I set my laptop up here because I thought as I talk, I can refer to things and look things up and go to various websites. And now I can't, of course, because no Wi-Fi. Yeah. I don't know whether it's I think it has to do with the MacBook, to be honest, because when I use my smartphone or tablet, I can go all over this room. I can bring things into the bathroom and I still have a Wi-Fi connection. But the laptop is very finicky. It has to be right here and nowhere else. So, yeah. Anyway, not to babble on for too much longer about technology, but two more thoughts. One thing I just realized, which I didn't know, I learned this by accident, an accidental discovery, because I'm using the GoPro Quick App again to run the GoPro. So I'm starting and stopping recording here and changing settings from the app, which is a lot more convenient than, you know, doing it on the camera, because I'm sort of trapped here on the bed. I can't really move. It is not the most efficient video recording studio in the world. Yeah, this room is just not set up for that. Kind of funny. But anyway, I have this set up, and then for whatever reason, I wanted to start recording again, and I forgot I had done it. So I just sort of reached over to the GoPro and I hit the record button on the GoPro, and it worked. So even though I have the app connected and I'm controlling the GoPro through the app, the record button on the GoPro is still functional. And then when I hit record on the GoPro, it started recording and it's still being controlled here. So once you connect with the app, it doesn't matter whether you hit record here or there. It has the same function, which I never would have guessed. I would have guessed that once you connect with Wi-Fi, it would disable the on-camera controls and you could only use this. That would have been my assumption, but happy accident. I learned that's not true. And the last technical note is that the reason not having Wi-Fi is an issue for me on the computer is because I'm interested in another little doodad. There is something called the SmallRig 2996 2-in-1 bracket. And it's a very interesting little device. And like a lot of these devices, I kind of have to close my eyes and imagine myself using it. It's like, okay, what could I use that for? Oh, and I start seeing possibilities. But I think a lot of these possibilities depend on how it works, how well it works or doesn't work. And basically what this thing is, it's made by SmallRig, and it's a little, actually it's almost exactly like this Ulanzi cold shoe mount thing that I bought. So this SmallRig has two cold shoe mounts, one on each side, but they're specially designed to fit a Rode Wireless Go or a Saramonic Blink 500, it says. And it has input and output jacks. So the idea is that if you have two Rode Wireless Goes, or I assume two microphones of any type, you can put them into these cold shoe mounts, plug in two microphones, and then it gives you one output that goes into your camera. And the price is actually, for that kind of technology, is very reasonable. At YL Camera, they say they have it as a promotion right now for 68 ringgit. And that strikes me as an interesting deal because I was looking at a Rode cable, a Rode splitter cable, which does the same thing. It combines two microphones into one signal. And it cost quite a bit more than this, I think. I mean, it's like, I don't know, 100 ringgit. So this basically gives you two-in-one. It gives you a mounting option, which you could use for various devices, and it gives you a two microphone input. It basically combines, I hate the word splitter, as I talked about before. It's not really splitting the signal, it's combining a signal, but it does the same thing as that Rode cable, and the Rode cable costs more, so this is actually a better deal. But the only place I've seen it for sale is at YL Camera, and I have a history with YL Camera, where, I mean, they have a website, and you see all these products on their website, but that doesn't mean they actually have it. I've learned over time. So I'm constantly going to, you know, YL Pudu, for example, and I walk in there expecting to buy this item, and they say, oh, we don't have it here, you know, but we have it at our, and they have another outlet. Well, they have one outlet at Loyat Plaza, one at Pudu, and one in a third location. I've been to all three, but the third one is far, far, far away. And I've been to that one in the past, but I don't even remember where it is, and I do not want to go there. It's just too far. But I often end up going to Pudu, and they say, oh, we don't have it. Then I go to Loyat, and they say they don't have it, but then they have it on their website, and they tell me, oh, well, we can order it for you. So from their website, I can't tell if they have it in stock, and if they have it physically in stock, which outlet has it. And I've talked to the staff at YL about this in the past, and they say, well, just, you know, contact us online, you know, just ask us. So, and I'd never done that before because it never worked. There's like it's powered by Messenger, and I would constantly click on the Messenger symbol, and then it just didn't launch anything. So I thought, well, it doesn't work. So I gave up on it. But this morning I discovered there's another button you can press, and it does launch Messenger. So, oh, okay. And I signed in with my Facebook account, and I sent them a message saying, I'm interested in this product. Do you have it in stock, and which outlet carries it? So I wrote to them, but I think it was too early. I wrote to them at like 8:45 in the morning, and they're probably not even open yet at 9, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm waiting for a response, but of course I'm offline now. And I keep holding my laptop, I keep moving it around, trying to get a connection for if they've responded, you know, I can receive their message. But no matter where I hold the laptop right now, I can't get Wi-Fi. Let's try moving it over here. I'm like the caveman of technology. Come on, it's gotta connect. No, it's not going to connect. Anyway, I'll find out eventually. To be honest, I'll probably just go to one of their outlets anyway, and see. I don't have a lot of hope that I'm going to get an answer, even though they tell me that's what I should do, but I don't have a lot of hope. Well, I just set up a mobile hotspot from my phone. And that is, I often end up doing that with this laptop because the Wi-Fi on the laptop doesn't seem to connect a lot of times. But my phone does, so I have it on Wi-Fi, and I've connected my laptop to here. And so now I'm on Facebook Messenger with YL Camera, but there's been no reply yet. I don't expect to get a reply. If I do, I will be astonished. A lot of this online stuff that stores offer is usually more words than anything else, you know. Yes, you can send us a message, and then you end up sending messages and you get no reply. That's what I expect. But moving on from technology, finally, the big news, I may have mentioned it in another video, but I'm not sure. The big news is that I booked a flight back to Sumatra. Yeah, it was an interesting experience. It went smoothly. I have the AirAsia app on my phone, and I've used AirAsia for all of my flights between Indonesia and Malaysia. And yeah, and so I'm always booking flights on the app. It works relatively well. There's always little glitches here and there, things that don't make any sense to me, but I fight through it and I eventually get to the end and book the flight. And because I was getting quite close to my departure date, like I wanted to, I'm looking for a flight now and I want to fly within the upcoming week, I figure, well, that means the flight is going to be more expensive, because if you want cheaper fares, of course, you have to book in advance to get the cheapest fare. But to my surprise, just looking like 5 or 6 days ahead, there were some really good fares, one-way flights from KL to Padang in Sumatra. And the base fare was 99 ringgit. And then I went for like one of the value packs, which gives me one checked bag, seat selection, and a meal. I don't really need the meal. I don't really need seat selection, but I do want the checked bag. And it turns out, like, if you choose one checked bag, it's like 80 ringgit for that or something like that. And then if you get the value pack, it's like 90 ringgit. So it's like 10 ringgit more. You get the seat selection and the meal. So I just get the value pack. And so I chose a seat, chose a window seat this time, way in the back of the plane. I keep trying to figure out where's the best place for me to sit. And I'm never quite sure, I choose incorrectly a lot of the time, but this time I went way at the back. I kind of like that because the plane exits from the front, and then I can just sit at the back of the plane and just wait for everybody else to get off, and then I can just get up, grab my bag, and stroll off the plane. Instead of, sort of being in the middle of the plane, and then I would still sit in my seat. I always wait to be the last person off. I don't like getting up and being in the crowd, so I just sit there and wait until everybody exits, and then I exit. But when you're sort of sitting in the middle, then you don't know who's behind you, whether the plane is cleared out or not. So you're like craning your neck, trying to see how many people are left. And I guess if you sit at the very back of the plane, you have the full view of everything. I'm not in the back seat, because the very back one, as I know, goes right up against the wall of the bathroom or something. And quite often there's less leg room there. And of course the seat is like completely vertical, like pushed up against the wall. And even if the seat even if you do want to recline your seat, in that position, it's not possible, There is no reclining available there. But the back one feels a little bit claustrophobic, so I'm like 2 rows up from the very back. And I think for getting on the plane, making my way all the way to the back, I think that'll work out well. And I booked the flight for this Sunday, which is Sunday, July 16th. And I was amazed because in my experience, when I go to book a flight, the only time available is always the worst possible time, especially with a budget airline. If you want to pay the least amount possible, well, that means you're leaving at the crack of dawn, really, really early, or you're arriving really, really late. One of those two options. You don't get the relaxing midday flight. For those, you generally have to go with a more expensive airline. But in this case, there was a flight early in the morning, like 8 a.m., which means, you have to be at the airport by 6, which means you're getting up at 4 or 3, and, you basically get no sleep the night before. Or there was one at 4:45, I think, which means you arrive late afternoon, and now it's dark. And if you want to travel to anywhere else, you're in the dark, and that's never that good either. So it turns out, though, there was a third flight at 11. And even when there is a third option in the middle, normally when I go to book a flight, it's sold out, because those would be the most popular flights and they'll be sold out. And this time, on Sunday, which was the perfect day, leaving at 11 a.m., which I guess is good. You technically should be at the airport by 9. So you're looking at, more reasonable hours for waking up and traveling out to the airport. And it arrives at 11. It's like an hour-long flight. You leave at 11 and arrive at 11 because of the time difference. And that gives me plenty of time to get from Padang to, if I want to go all the way back to Bukit Tinggi city itself, there's a van that leaves from the airport. And I've been in contact with a van company, and they said they leave every hour. They have a van every hour, but they want me to reserve in advance just to tell them. and I'll do that. So yeah, that all kind of worked out quite well. So yeah, flying into a city called Padang, about hour to 2.5, maybe 2.5 hours away from Bukit Tinggi, and I'll probably take one of these vans right after I arrive, get in the van, and then drive up to Bukit Tinggi. I'll probably spend a night in Bukit Tinggi in a hotel there, and then the next morning I'll go back to the village where my bike is located and reunite with my bicycle. And yeah, I guess I don't have firm plans, but I am kind of making plans. And it's an interesting process. There are some places I know I want to go near a city called Payakumbuh. There's the Harau Valley. I want to go there. And then there's a lake, Lake Meningo, which is quite near Bukit Tinggi. So I want to go there. And there's another lake called Lake Singkarak, which is sort of, there's like a Bukit Tinggi and then the city of Padang, and there's a highway that connects the two. But on this side of the highway is Lake Meningo, and on the other side of the highway is Lake Singkarak. And they look like, you know, beautiful areas, and I can ride my bike all the way around the lake. They're quite small. You know, if you had a scooter, you could just go around the lake. You could get a hotel room beside the lake and then wake up in the morning and just go around the whole lake in, you know, a couple hours on a scooter, you know. So, but bicycle, of course, is a little bit more of a journey. So, but you could, yeah, circumnavigate that lake, ride. To ride to the other lake, I think you've got to backtrack. They've got a very famous stretch of highway that goes down to Lake Meningo. I think they call it 44 curves, because the lake is basically a volcanic crater. It's still a volcano, but at one point in geological history, it erupted and it created this giant crater, and then it filled with water, so that it's a crater lake, a quite large one for a volcano. I mean, it's a small lake compared to, you know, the Great Lakes of the world, but in terms of a volcanic crater lake, it's quite big. You know, as I said, it takes a couple of hours to go all the way around it, but it's in the middle of a volcano, so of course the volcanic crater rim is up above it. So in order to get to this lake, you've got to go up to the lip of the volcano, and then you're going down, 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 down. I guess the road switchbacks 44 times, so there's 44 curves before you get from the lip of the volcano down to water level at the lake. And then in order for me to leave again, I'm going to have to go up the 44 curves. I think there isn't another road that I can see, but I have to backtrack through Bukit Tinggi and then go out the other side, and I can go to the other lake. And after that, things get a little bit tricky. If I could get a longer visa for Indonesia, it wouldn't be so tricky, but I only get 30 days on arrival, and then I extend it. I possibly can extend it for another 30 days. So that will be 60 days in total, which is a lot of time for most people, particularly if you're traveling by bus or motorcycle. But on a bicycle and with my style, it's not a lot of time. So I'm trying to figure out where I want to go and how I want to go to those places. And one of my thoughts was to ride down the coast. So I want to go to these two lakes, go to Padang, and then from Padang, there's a road. There's like they call it the, I think, West Sumatran Highway. But of course, when you look at it, it's not, it's just like it's a small 2-lane road. It's not like a national, like a giant freeway system, but it's a, you know, 2-lane road that they call the West Sumatran Highway. And it follows the coast all the way down to the next big city is called Bengkulu. And Bengkulu seems like a natural destination for me, especially in terms of timing. Like there's an immigration office in Bengkulu, so I could land in Bukit Tinggi, get my bike, go to the lake, go to the other lake, go to Padang, ride down the coast, and by the time I get to Bengkulu, my 30 days will be just about up, and then I will go to the immigration office in Bengkulu and get a 30-day extension. But the problem is I want to leave Sumatra with my bicycle when I come back to Malaysia. And to do that, I want to go by ferry. So I want to go all the way back to Dumai, and that's a long journey from Bengkulu to Dumai. And it seems like doing a loop, like going from Bengkulu and looping around this direction back to Dumai, is not very scenic. All the scenery is on the west coast with the mountain ranges along the west coast and the ocean, of course. So, yeah, I think you'd end up on a major highway system. Like the big highway for Sumatra is the other one that goes down the middle of the island. And I think if I tried to loop from Bengkulu back to Dumai, that direction, I'd end up on that highway and with a massive truck traffic. So based on looking at the maps and calculations that I've done, that doesn't seem to be the best way to go. But the only other way to go is back to Bukit. Like you go down to Bengkulu, and now I'm there, and I get another 30 days, I hope. The most reasonable way to get back to Dumai would be to retrace my steps. I could go back up the coast, or I can take this other road that goes a little bit inland back to Padang, Bukit, and then from there I can go back to Dumai the way I came. But I don't know about the timing for that. The other alternative would be to ride down to Bengkulu, and I kind of want to do that. The scenery, when I look at Google Maps and you go down to Street View, doesn't look spectacular. We're not talking about mountain cliffs and stuff, but you are on the ocean. There are going to be beaches, which is always nice. It's always nice to ride along the ocean. And there are places where there's like a peninsula jutting out into the water, and the main highway cuts along the base of the peninsula, but there is like a smaller road that will leave the highway, and I could cycle along that crinkly edge, around the peninsula, go all the way around and rejoin the highway. So it feels like it would be a nice journey. In the past, I rode my bike from Lake Toba to the coast, and I rode all the way up the northwestern coast, all the way to Banda Aceh. And that was a beautiful ride. I think the ride along the coast to Bengkulu is not as nice scenically as the one to the north, but I still think it would be quite pleasant to do. It would be quite interesting to do. So I do want to ride down along the coast, get some exercise, assuming, I can handle it physically. I would like to do that, and it seems reasonable to do within 30 days. The timing works out to get my visa extension, but then what do I do from there? I could just put my bike on a bus and take a bus back to Padang, one day. So, I could take the whole month to slowly make my way to Bengkulu, get a visa extension, and then right back to Padang in one day on a bus, and then I can pick up my journey from there. So that's a thought. I mean, you never really want to do that if you're bike touring. The thought of, riding all the way somewhere on your bike and then getting on a bus just to go all the way back, it kind of feels weird. You're mixing forms of transportation, and it's almost like, well, why did I work so hard, pedaling that bike up and down the mountains and in the heat of the sun all the way to here, and then in one day I can just, zip all the way back on a bus. If that's so easy, why didn't I do it on the bus coming down? But of course, the answer to that question is that it's not the destination. It's not like I want to see Bengkulu. I'm sure it's a lovely town, but that's not my goal. My goal isn't to be in Bengkulu. My goal is to enjoy the journey to Bengkulu. Bengkulu is just a random destination that happens to have an immigration office. So, but still, it feels weird to ride somewhere and then go all the way back by bus or something. It's just it'd feel more natural, more real, more engaging to do the whole thing by bicycle. You ride there by bike and then you come back by bike. You do the whole thing and then it fits together. To be honest, if my budget allowed, I might even switch entirely. I have my bike in Sumatra, and if I had the money to do it at this point, based on my experience of cycling in Sumatra already, I would probably think seriously about renting a scooter or even buying a scooter just for the 60 days. Just because the distances are so vast in Sumatra and the traffic is can get pretty dangerous, pretty crazy, and the heat and the hills, it's a tough place. And I don't mind that normally, but you're shooting YouTube video, that puts demands on you in terms of your mental state and your physical energy. And to be honest, having a scooter, it's not a bad idea. So had I, the budget to do it, I would probably, I'd think about it. And if it was easy to do, I don't know how easy it is to rent a scooter in Sumatra. I know you can do it in like tourist-friendly places, Bali. Though in Bali, of course, they're making all these new rules. They're even thinking about banning foreigners from renting scooters now. I don't know whether that law has gone into effect, but anyway, I don't know how easy it is to rent a scooter in the Bukittinggi area, especially if you want to take it long distances. Because once I had that scooter, of course, then I would definitely go to Bengkulu. And then I might even try to go all the way up to Lake Toba, like ride down to Bengkulu, come back through the mountains, up to Lake Toba, back again, and ending in Bukittinggi. And then I could ride my bike from Bukittinggi back to Dumai, sort of like, I mean, that's a good idea. I really don't mind that idea, but we'll see. Yeah, I've got a few days before I fly, so I can think about this. It would be like a lot more expensive, but maybe, if you strike a deal to rent a scooter for 2 entire months, maybe it wouldn't be that expensive and it might be worth it. But then you got the cost of gas and things like that. We will see. It's something to think about. I think that is it for my life update. Since I'm now connected to the Wi-Fi through my phone, I can monitor the messenger with YL camera, and yeah, they haven't replied. I won't get a reply. It's now 9:45, so they're all definitely there and they're all definitely working, but I don't imagine they have staff assigned to monitor this. And who knows, they might answer, but hours later. And so what I'm probably going to do when I pack up here, I'm going to go to YL camera at Loyat, see if I can pick up one of these. I think it'll be a very useful purchase. I'm still kind of surprised about it, as I said, in terms of the price, because it basically gives you 2 cold shoe mounts and a splitter cable all in one, specially designed for the Rode Wireless Go for 70 ringgit. That just seems like an incredible deal. And looking at the design of this thing, it would also be useful for mounting other things. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. And then I'm looking at some other items. There's a Rode dual cold shoe mount, like a little bracket you can buy. And that bracket, that's only the 2 cold shoe mounts, is 90 ringgit. And then the splitter cable is about 90 ringgit each. And the SmallRig device, which does both, is 70 ringgit all by itself. So, I don't know. I'll go, I wish I could go take a look at it and try it out and watch YouTube reviews and learn all about it, but that's kind of a waste of time, I find. You pretty much have to decide whether it's worth taking a chance, and I'll buy it and see how it works. I think it'll come in quite handy sometimes. So that's probably what I'm going to do. And what else is on my mind? Yeah, tons of things, as always. I don't know whether I want to dive into them right now. I probably don't. So I think I'm going to leave it there for this morning, for my video podcast journal entry, whatever this is. I could certainly talk a lot about a lot of the YouTube channels that I'm following, pop culture, You know, TV shows that I've been watching, not so much movies. I don't think I've watched a movie in a long time, but TV shows that I find quite interesting. And podcasts as well. I've listened to some very interesting podcasts. One in particular, it's kind of a science biology subject, is really stuck in my head, and I've wanted to talk about it for a long time. But maybe I'll set that aside. Maybe tomorrow morning I'll do a pop culture roundup and a podcast roundup, and then I'll report back on my plans for Sumatra, how they are developing, and also if I manage to get one of these SmallRig devices, you know, as I go out shopping. Oh, I have to change money too, so I'm going to do that either today or tomorrow. I have ringgit. I withdrew a bunch of ringgit, and I want to change it to Indonesian rupiah before I go there. I like to land in the country with money. I also have to pay for the visa on arrival, which I think is, how much is it again? 500,000 rupiah, I think they charge at the airport. So you have to have that in cash when you land, either in dollars or, you know, local currency. So I want to have that ready to go. So yeah, I have to do that. And yeah, time to start the day. And perhaps I'll see you tomorrow morning back here. Planet Doug behind the scenes.